January 3rd, 2026, New Year. Hope everybody had a happy new year. We're into the new one now and we're already moving ahead. So, I guess the big issue in the last week or so in domestic politics has been this whole Somali fraud scandal that's been going on in Minnesota. I was taught at addressing other issues, I guess mainly and on the international scene, and kind of didn't quite touch on that. But this could be a major issue, I think, especially if we can find additional cases of this sort of thing on a significant scale. And the one there apparently gets into the billions in Minnesota if this turns out to be right. And of course, we have other states, particularly the Democrat areas in these states. Now, I've heard of some like California. I'd be interested to see what we could find there, and maybe New York and so forth. So that's certainly an area of opportunity because right now, looking at the political situation, we have the idea that the polling seems to show Trump underwater and of course, but not all polls show that. Trafalgar shows, I think, Trump ahead by, I think, 5 points, I believe. And that's a registered vote. I mean, excuse me, a likely voters poll. Um, and they're all adults poll, and I'm always suspicious of those because all adults are they even necessarily legal voters. I mean, they're 18, but they may be illegal immigrants or something. I don't know. So I'm not sure whether they're certified to be actual voters. Plus, if you call somebody up and ask them, "Are you a citizen?" they may not get an honest answer, right? Particularly if they're not. So, at any rate, and then so some of those have really, really ultra negative numbers, and of course, the registered voter polls are in the middle. I've gone through that before, but one thing that does concern me a little bit is the Rasmussen, which has always been a pretty reliable poll, I've thought in the past, and it I kind of like its methodology in the sense that since it's an automated, just a recorded voice asks the questions, it doesn't give it wouldn't have the effect of having people in any way be inhibited to say what they really thought. Since you're just pushing, one for this or two for that or whatever, as opposed to actually answering say a college educated a political science student, that would be asking questions. You might think, I don't want to admit how reactionary I am. Well, not everybody. Some people like to just tell them, but some people would be that way, I think, and that might have a skewing effect on some of the poll results. And so, because of that, I always thought Rasmussen was pretty good, and having Trump down 10 points in approval, it doesn't sound too good at the moment. On the other hand, like I said, Trafalgar has him up 5, and that's a 15-point gap. And there's other polls out there that are positive, and then but most of the liberal polls are notoriously negative. So I don't know what to make of all this sort of scatter you see. I think it's kind of interesting. It may be one thing that can skew results, of course, is what else is being asked in the poll, of course. But getting back to the main issue, that we got a big fraudulent scandal going on here in Minnesota, and of course, some interesting things where they actually have daycare centers where the people bring the children in, and then they immediately take them back out again, and apparently get money for bringing the children in. So our Somali friends are doing pretty good, and probably there's other scams going on too. And this might be a good area for the Republicans and the DOJ to really get into, along with maybe congressional committees, to really press on this issue. Maybe this would help, kind of put the Democrats a little bit on the spot. And because we need to do something to turn this whole situation around, I think. And I think there's a lot of hope that could be done. Well, if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Or, of course, you can also follow me on Rumble if you prefer that site. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are here on that one. I thought that it was interesting to see, what we can do. I know there's a petition going on that Waltz ought to resign. I don't know if he's going to. Probably not. Oh, and maybe, I'm not sure when he's up for election again. I think maybe in 2026. I'm not sure about that. Some states, many states have elections, the governor the same year as the presidential, and the others are the half a cycle off. And certainly many states are like that too. I don't know about Minnesota, And I didn't get into that issue. So maybe that gives the Republicans some chance in an otherwise Democrat-leaning state. Um, but so that's kind of what's happening on that. I think that that's an area we need to look at. The other thing that may help us, I still think, is and I know that this could work out pretty good, is that because people have probably been withholding tax at about the same rate they were withholding it previously, there are some actual tax cuts in there that are beneficial to everybody. And I think that maybe as you know, in a few weeks, that people start getting into filing their taxes, depending on how quickly they jump on it. Some of them wait almost to the the 15th, but some people get into it earlier. And as people start getting tax returns, and there'll be some increases above what they're expecting, that might actually have a positive effect on people's perception of things. A part of it, I think, has been the media itself has generated this idea that this is this big affordability crisis. And of course, there always is an affordability crisis, right? I mean, there's never been a time where everything is just really great and anything you want to buy, you can afford. Now, housing has always been trouble, cars, whatever. Things, but they may be a little bit more stressful now. But most of this is due to what happened during the COVID period and the Biden administration that caused most of this stuff, And so I think that we'll have to see how this works out. On the downside is the fact that the biggest thing that Trump did in the big beautiful bill for everybody is he maintained overall the basic tax rate structure that he passed back in 2017. And of course, people, I don't know if they're really taking into account that if in fact Republicans had lost this last election, they would probably be facing some significant tax increases across the board for everybody that's paying income tax. And that's something that I don't know to what degree the public really has that message and to what degree that can be used politically. I mein, I think we should be repeating that we saved them from a big tax increase. But, it's kind of, we'll have to see. That I've always said that was kind of put us at a disadvantage that we had, the best we could probably do for a lot of people is just maintaining what they have rather than having it get a lot worse. However, the child credits have been improved, and the tipped workers will be getting that are in the correct tax brackets. I think up to $25,000 of tipped income will be tax free, so that should help that group out. And the Social Security thing is always controversial, but in reality, apparently it's definitely going to be a case where most your typical Social Security recipients won't be paying any income tax now with the $6,000 deduction that's in there. It isn't really what was being advertised as no tax on Social Security. I mean, for the people a little bit more affluent retirees, that would be kind of a windfall, actually. And of course, that didn't happen because of the nature of the reconciliation laws, which don't allow them to change Social Security. I think that was put in to protect Social Security benefits from being reduced when the reconciliation process was passed back in the early 70s, 1970s, that is. But nonetheless. In this case, it prevented something that might have been a little better. I think the $4,000 tax credit that the House originally had in their bill would have been nicer, but of course, I guess it didn't meet the thresholds that the Senate was willing to agree with, and of course that still means that 17% of Social Security recipients at the upper income levels of Social Security recipients will be paying some taxes. Although they may still get some benefits, some reductions, but not necessarily zero. Okay, so that's kind of the way that is, and I think it'll be interesting to see, can we get going? The other thing I see is a little bit negative is, and of course this is going to anger some people, I guess, but I got to say it. I think Trump's ongoing public personality thing is really, why is he doing this? I mean. Renaming the Kennedy Center the Trump Kennedy Center. What's the point there? To tick off all Democrats and motivate them more? I mean, isn't it enough to have your name on the new class of battleship? I mean, I don't see why he's always doing things that annoy let's say, people that are not hardcore Trump supporters and are not maybe hardcore Trump enemies, that group in the middle that are persuadable. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. I'm so opposed to the Democrats and their policies that I'll vote for Trump, regardless of what he renames the Kennedy Center. I mean, it isn't going to affect me. I find it like, why are you doing this? Is why I'm looking at it. But I think he ought to try to pull back the excessive personality a little bit and just try to focus more on delivering facts, even if he has to have a prepared speech to do it. Try to get the numbers accurate for a change rather than exaggerated all the time. I mean, because that simply gives the Democrats an opening to attack all the time. If he actually saved $2 trillion got $2 trillion of foreign investment in the country, I don't know what it was, but say it was that, he'll say it was 10 trillion. But if it's only 2 or 3, then say that. I mean, it's still a lot of money, and it sounds good. And before anybody can compare them, they probably can't know the difference anyhow. Trillions beyond their imagination anyhow, really. So what I'm getting at, this is what I kind of find frustrating about him, that he keeps doing these things. I know that probably some people find that appealing, I guess. I don't know. But I'm saying the people you need that are on the fringe that may vote one way or vote the other, I don't think for them it's appealing. And so I don't know. Although I hear that was something like 60,000 people who voted for Trump in New York City voted for Mondami. Obviously, these are not ideological voters, right? I don't know. Maybe they're just voting against whatever it is that's in there right now or something. And that's another thing you have to deal with. Though a lot of elections are really driven by people that are essentially voting against what's in there now. They're not happy with the way things are, and they're never happy with the way things are, and never will be, but they will vote in an oscillating fashion from one election to the next. And of course, that gives us a real problem here because of how close things tend to be. Again, I do see the House as being a real challenge. It would take a miracle to pull that one off, I think, given that if the Democrats were to just gain like just single-digit seats, they would be in charge. The Senate is more competitive, and there's some states where the Democrats, I think, have problems, just like there's states where Republicans have problems. And with a solid campaign that's well-funded and well thought out, that might pay off. Now, and of course, the idea of having a midterm convention in the summer might be a good idea. And I guess if things get really desperate, we could go with the $2,000, tariff tax rebate or something. I don't know. We also we'll see how much damage this whole thing over the Obamacare subsidy, I guess you'd call it, how much impact that's going to have. I previously had stated I thought we should go ahead and extend them for 1 year while then working on a reconciliation bill during the coming year while we still have control of the government completely to actually pass such a reconciliation bill to actually replace the Obamacare issues with a more marketplace-based system with subsidies, sort of like what Trump was talking about. But it seems like there's such an inertia, particularly in the Congress, to doing anything. Particularly, it seems like on the Senate side. I don't know what they're thinking about exactly. But to me, that is probably what we should do. But we haven't yet, so I don't know what's going to happen at the moment. A compromise with the Democrats is going to be a problem, and I don't know the reconciliation. Could it be done in time to really save the day? Because right now it's effective. They're not getting the subsidy. And remember, the big issue, I don't know, the people at the lower income levels, that weren't getting anything, that were getting the basic amount that was always in Obamacare, are still getting it. It's only going to affect the higher income people, which are mainly, I think, people with pre-existing conditions. Because if you had the money and you didn't have a pre-existing condition, it seems to me like you just go ahead and buy commercial insurance, which is now available. It hasn't been banned, and I think it was liberalized a lot under Trump's first term. So to me, that would be probably a better deal, than high deductible Obamacare plans. However, I think other people that are in that are people that are relatively don't have a pre-existing condition but have retired before Medicare and are simply using it as a way to have catastrophic care in the event that they needed it when they don't think they will need it, but they can pay the deductibles because they do have the money. They just don't expect to have to pay it. And this group may get a little annoyed, and because I've run into this and seeing this in retirement planning shows I see on YouTube, and I'm going, oh, I see why there's a problem here now. So anyway, I just running through all that. And one last thing I'll get into that we were kind of discussing previously and about the situation with the negotiation on the Ukraine-Russia war. I know there's a big controversy now because Putin claimed that the Ukrainians had launched an attack trying to hit his residence up in well, it's kind of, I guess, a little bit to the west of the east, sorry, the east of St. Petersburg, and so I don't know. I kind of had the opinion that maybe this was somewhat. I don't know whether they're really aiming for that or something was nearby it. But at any rate, this has become into a big, thing. The CIA and the Western media says that didn't happen, and Russia's saying it does happen, and well, that's I don't know. We'll see. I guess that's still being debated as of this time. I understand that the Russians have now provided some information to the U.S. Embassy to support their side of it. And of course, in terms of the war hawks over here, it doesn't matter what the truth is anyhow. They probably wished it succeeded. So that's that's the kind of thing that's going on there. So we'll see how Trump reacts to it. It seems like he reacted one way one day and the other way the next day, and so we'll see what comes of all this. But for the moment, it looks like the war continues because I don't know. I don't think they're anywhere near making a deal yet. So at least that's my opinion. So anyway, I'll be wrapping this up for now. And as always, I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble. And the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. So all for this time.